YouTube fans, here again. I'm a bigger why not this one? Resident Evil Dull. Or Resident Evil Apocalypse, whatever you want to call it. That's right, the second Resident Evil. Now, to be open, to be honest, I think this was the best one out of the film series, the trilogy, or whatever you want to call it. This had to be the best one. What do I mean by that? Well, it follows on from the first one. If you remember the ending where Alice, I'm not saying who the fuck is Alice, gets a shot done, she's in New York, in the town centre. It starts off where it ended. Again, I wish it was an 18, because I think with an 18 rating, it would have had more of an impact, because again, you don't see blood, you don't see dawn, it's time sad for a zombie film. The game's fair enough, but I think the film should have been 18. It's just my opinion. But I've got to admit, this is a big improvement in a lot of ways. One, it's like the first one, it just has practical effects, but the zombies, the makeup looks a lot better. This is a lot of CGI, but there's also a lot of practical as well. And like I say, she's now in New York. You've got the idea it's an epidemic, everyone's turning into zombies. Your typical zombie film. You know what I mean? You've seen it done before, whether it be Dawn of the Dead, a bit of Day of the Dead before they end up in the underground city. A lot of zombie films have done it, you know what I mean? So there's an epidemic. And he's got one girl in it. I think Matty, she was in the game version of Resident Evil. You got this zombie. They have like a take the mick of Tina Turner. Remember rightly, she shoots it or kills it. Walks out of a cop shop. But if I remember right, this one does show a lot more of Umbrella. Shows a lot more of Umbrella. So you get a lot of the Umbrella operation in this. You got one guy, remember right, ends up in that one. You got the idea it's the main villain. You've got a little girl, this old man, and they actually used the little girl as the opening of Umbrella. So every time you see a little girl talking, remember right, they showing it a lot in the original with the computer all the time of the little girl. They used it off this little girl. Remember right, it's the president of the company of Umbrella. What he doesn't know is you've got the chemicals, what they're spraying, whether it's hairspray, whether it's perfume or whatever. I've got to admit, I like that touch. I like the idea it's not your typical voodoo and what's happening in the world like you've probably seen in, I don't know, loads, whether it be Night of the Living Dead or the remake or nobody knew what Charles did in Dawn of the Dead or even Zombie Flesh. It's in this as more of an adaptation. It's not your typical voodoo land. You've got an idea, their chemicals is what caused all this epidemic. And I do like the idea, if you remember rightly, you do get the idea that this one guy is going to become the Licker. Remember the computer game, that big monster with a big tongue called the Licker? It just told the story in this of his fate, and you kind of feel sorry for the guy. So again, you've got Alice, and she teams up with this girl, teams up with a lot of other people, this long guy, it's a different story. And you've got the idea of the fighting zombies, just like the first one. And I like that. Again, you get this stimulus Doldemans, without repeating myself, the New York City. And I like that. I like the look of Tuxis there. I think it's different. I think it's unique. I like a lot about it. So, like I say, you got the main villain. And you've got this one guy thinks going to be the love test of Alice. Doesn't go anywhere. And in the third one, you know his fate. Which I'll get to that when I do the third one. And they meet the little girl, they meet the dad. He's been double tossed from the one of the main villain. Again, you get to see a lot more in that one. And basically, they get double tossed. It's basically them wanting to sell these perfumes, these brands. They don't give a shit what's happening. They're even doing experiments with the zombies, which again, without repeating myself, to do a lot more in that one. So it's that interesting one. This I think this one has a lot of action in it, has a lot of horror in it. There's a good bit where they're in the cemetery, they're fighting zombies, just like without repeating myself. And I like that. I like the touch that's in this one. I think it's very clever. I think it's unique. And I think if one thing, and if Alice one thing, who the fuck is Alice? I'll say it. She does do a lot more in this. So I've got to admit that this one, Apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, is a bit, I keep saying it, is a bit improvement from the original one. definitely hands down is a big improvement of the original. Because I like the idea of the original. It was all one to town, but it's like I said, rewind back what I said about that one. In that one, you want to see it done better, just watch fucking Day of the Dead. But in this one, it was always action. There was always something happening. Where she weren't fighting the stingless dogs. She was fighting zombies. There's a lot more in it. There's a bit. I remember right one. There's a bit within a stool, and in the task room of a stool, and you've got the stingless dogs, and they had to keep the little girl safe. And the guy's fate is he gets drugged up by the dive from Umbrella. Then you've got the idea he's going to be transformed into a liquor, which again, without repeating myself, falls up in this one. And if I remember right, there the main villain wants Alice. They manage to get out of Dodge to get the liquid there, and the old man to there at the top. So, and I could be right, come on, if he gets saved. But again, the main villain wants Alice. Again, it kind of falls on without repeating myself in the third one. So I like this one. It's like I just said, there's a lot in it. Didn't get boring. I felt the first one after a bit kind of dragged. I felt the makeup on the actors and actors, like I said in the original. I felt that it was a letdown. There was a missed opportunity. This was like the computer game of Resident Evil, and again, I felt they could have done a bit more horror in it. I know I'm repeating myself, but I felt they should have put a bit more horror in this. You know what I mean? But there's some horror moments in it. Like you got, like I say, you got the stingless dogs, you got the zombies and the makeup on the zombies are a lot better. I like the idea. Remember, right, this was the one with the big monster. If you remember Resident Evil 3, the Dame, you had that big dock off monster, and Alice, well, not Alice, but the main characters just fighting it. Remember, right, you do get it in this, and it's down to fight and they get the better of it. So I do kind of like that little touch in Resident Evil Apocalypse. Little bits in there, I could still wish they had the Resident Evil 2 or something like that. I just wish it did that. But I like the other characters in it. I'm starting sad that one of the main characters gets, well, he doesn't get killed, but you know his fate in the third one. And you know what I mean? And I felt this was a big improvement from the original. To be honest, this had to be my favourite one of Resident Evil. Had to be. I like the characters without repeating myself. I like the idea you've got the stingless dogs again. You don't get the trolls. Remember the trolls in the game that was attacking people and pecking people? You don't get that until you get that one. I don't mind the third one, but I've got to be open and honest. I think it was a bit of a letdown compared to this one. I think this one had a lot more going for it. I just wish it had a bit more door. I wish the zombies was physically biting and attacking people. Again, I wish it was an 18 with blood, guts, and snot. But without repeating myself, I do think it's a big improvement from the first one. A lot of people say the original is a classic, but I've got to disagree. I don't mind the first one, but I wish it was more like the original game. And I wish that Resident Evil 2 was more faithful. But there are bits that is faithful. I like the idea it's in the cemetery. I like the idea it's in New York. I like the idea it's more open. I'm a sucker for open zombie films. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Night of the Living Dead. You heard me praise the remake of Night of the Living Dead. I think it's better. Shock or not, I actually think the remake's better than the original. You already know what I think about fucking remakes. Before people boo-hoo me, say, Night of the Living Dead's a classic. I don't praise the film, I don't get turned on the film, but I respect the film. I remember saying that. But to me, I just wish that this had a bit more meat to the bone. But I do think it's a bit of a big improvement from the first one. So that's Resident Evil, Apocalypse 2, whatever you want to call it. I'll give it a 3, but I do think it's good. There are bits I wish they would have done better, like I just rewind back, an 18 rating, the zombies attacking people a lot more, them doing a lot more, but I do think it's a big improvement from the original. So that's why I'm giving it a 3-star rating. But is it them? Be smart, be safe. See you soon for some more movies, more movie reviews, and more things on the way.